Hi, my name is Michaela, and I'm going to be introducing Lauren and I's presentation on Bethel School District number 43 Supreme Court case. So first, I want to talk about kind of what was happening in education at the time period of this case. So this case hit the Supreme Court in 1986, and at this time, lawmakers were becoming increasingly more involved in the schools based on poor SAT scores nationwide, and that there was an increase in media coverage asking questions such as, how is the quality of education? And this led to educators wanting politicians to be more invested in the schools with additional resources, guidance, that kind of thing. And then a precedent for the case that we're going to be talking about is the Tinker versus Des Moines Independent Community School District case, where students pictured here were wearing black armbands to show that they're to protest the Vietnam War. They just wanted to show that they didn't support it, and the school tried to censor their freedom of expression. So this case went all the way through the Supreme Court case, and it was ruled in the students' favors that they were protected and allowed to demonstrate their feelings about the Vietnam War. So some background on this case is that it started when Matthew Frazier, a senior at Bethel High School in 1983, gave a speech. He was told several times to make sure that the speech was school appropriate, but he failed to do so. The speech was full of sexually explicit language and vulgar imagery, and students had a variety of reactions to it. Because of this, he was suspended for 3 days, and he tried to overturn the decision, but the school board shot him down. So that's when Don Frazier, his father, stepped in and filed a lawsuit based on a First Amendment violation, and also the 14th Amendment was not upheld. His First Amendment was violated. Don Frazier believes his First Amendment was violated by not letting him have freedom of speech when he was speaking in front of the school. And then he argues that the 14th Amendment was also violated because he was not giving due process. He just immediately was punished and had his name removed from the graduation ceremony and the list of speakers. So to summarize kind of like a timeline for this, it was first presented at the Federal District Court in 1983. Matthew was allowed to speak at graduation, and he was granted monetary damage from this. The Federal District Court ruled in favor of the family, but Bethel School District wasn't finished. They appealed to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and the same decision was upheld, referring to the Tinker versus Des Moines case, where administration cannot prohibit freedom of speech was established. In 1986, the case is taken to the Supreme Court. The school was arguing that sexual content is not comparable to political statements, as was stated with Tinker versus Des Moines, and that faculty have the right to balance freedom of speech and protecting minors from vulgar language, as there were students as young as 14 present during his speech. Now we're going to see what Lauren has to share about the proceedings of this case and what came after.
So I will be talking about the decisions made within the court case. So as stated before, the court case granted monetary damages in order for the school not to prevent him from speaking at graduation, because obviously that didn't really make sense, and that they actually, like the court said that they actually could not do that. The school actually appealed the court case into the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which means that the lower court gets to make a decision. So the court ruled that Frazier's speech was no different than Tinker versus Des Moines, but the ruling in that case said that school could not discipline students off of fear of disruption. But the difference was that the Ninth Circuit found was that Frazier's speech was actually disruptive and actually caused a lot of issues within the school, that younger kids were hearing vulgar language and it was not appropriate. So on March 3rd, 1986, the case was argued in the Supreme Court. And the statements that were made was that students' rights are not the same as adults' rights for freedom of speech, and that the school is allowed to protect kids, especially young ones that were listening to the speech, so age 14, from the vulgar language, and that Frazier had a disruptive speech, and Tinker's was political, but is also non-disruptive. So the kids were just sitting there and politely protesting what they thought about the Vietnam War. Frazier, unfortunately, caused a speech that had vulgar language, which made people upset and hurt their feelings, thereby ruled on a 7-2 vote that the school's actions did not violate the First Amendment. So the implication for educators and students. So students may disagree with teachers, classmates, and faculty, but they cannot do it at the expense of another student. So they may not harass or bully or make other students upset about the language they have used. And it is stated that They do not have to shed their constitutional rights to freedom of speech or expression at the schoolhouse gate. So they can write and speak and have the right to assembly or do whatever they please, but schools can regulate what is inappropriate that students can and cannot say, since they have the right to free and public education. And they also have the right to safeguard and watch the free expression, so they can regulate or mandate what students can say so other students can feel safe in the environment. Here are our references. And this is our graphic that we provided. It has a timeline of how the Bethel versus Fraser entire case went. It goes from 1983 to 1986 with all the things that we've included within this presentation, and here are our citations.